everyone, this is Carol Keller, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Illinois in the United States, coming to you today with the second of my two projects using the Ice Cream Corner suite of products from the January to June 2021 Stampin' Up! Mini Catalog. I will be using the entire suite of products in my project today, which is a card. And without further ado, I'm going to turn the camera around so we can get started. Alright, so we are using, as I said, the components, all of the components from the Ice Cream Corner suite, starting with the Sweet Ice Cream Photopolymer Stamp Set and the companion Ice Cream Cone Builder Punch. And in addition to that, we have a set of beautiful Designer Series papers, the Ice Cream Corner Designer Series papers. These are bold, wonderful prints, just beautiful, vibrant colors. Ice cream, but then some kind of splashes of color that I really just like, that all of course coordinate. And then on the other side we have smaller prints and less variety of color on most of them, but again, beautiful companions to these colors on the other side. And then part of the suite also includes this beautiful Blackberry Bliss sheer ribbon. Wait till you see it on the card. It's really, it really complements what we're going to be doing today. And then last but not least, the Ice Cream Corner sprinkles. And at first I thought maybe they were made of paper till I saw them, but they're actually little round pieces of plastic. And when you see them on the card, I think you're going to love them. So here is the card that I designed, and we will get started making it. Don't those sprinkles look so cute? So I started with an A2, typical A2 size card in purple Posy, and I have cut 2 pieces of cardstock. This one is 3 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and this is 1 inch by 5 1/4 inches. And if you're using an A4 size card, your approximate size for this piece is 14 centimeters by 7 centimeters, and this one is 14 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is adhere our first layer to the card base, and I'm just using my Stampin' Seal, but you can use your favorite adhesive. Multi-purpose liquid glue certainly works, or your Seal Plus. They all will work fine. That right up against it. Okay. And I like to use mine right off the roll. And we're just going to run it through the back and tie a knot. And you can also tie a bow. I know some people are not big fans of that, but whichever one works for you is fine. And we're going to do it over toward the left-hand side. Sometimes I feel like I need a third hand to do this, but hopefully we'll get it to work. Let's hold that knot down a little bit. You can also put a little piece of you can also put a little glue dot underneath to hold it in place while you tie it, but I'd say that looks pretty good. Grab my paper snips and give that a little trim like that at an angle, and we'll trim this one down just a little bit as well. So we're good with our card base, and if you'd like to, this one seems pretty secure, but sometimes I'll put a glue dot also just underneath the knot after I finish it, but that looks pretty secure, so I think I'm going to leave it. And next, let's do some stamping and some punching. So I've got some scraps here. I've got a scrap of the wonderful Designer Series paper that I'm going to use to punch the cone, because it's designed to look obviously like a sugar cone. So I'm just popping it in there and punching it out. And then before we punch out the other ones, we're going to do some stamping first. All right, so I'm going to bring in first my purple Posy, and we're using Pool Party ink on all 3 of those little ice cream cones. I thought that would be easier, even though we will be using some other colors on the inside, but for right now. And I took the thank you stamp that comes with the set, but I stamped thank on one and you on another, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Because it's photopolymer and I can see right where the one word ends and the other one begins, I'm simply inking it up right along the edge there. If you're really nervous about it, you could always tape over the Y and U to make sure that you don't ink it, but I would just caution you to make sure you take the tape off before you stamp it on your project. And we'll do it this way. And then I'm going to take my punch in a second and just punch it out, but we'll do the rest of the stamping first. And on my So Saffron scrap, I'm going to stamp the word you. And actually I've cleaned in between, so I want to make sure there's no stray ink from the word thank that's going to get on my project. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the word you. And like I said, it's pretty easy to see exactly where that ink is going. Make sure it's straight up and down. And then last but not least, we're going to take the sentiment "You Melt My Heart" and use that on a scrap of Pool Party for our last cone. Actually, try that one more time. That's better. That's why we have 2 sides, isn't it? And then we're also going to do, while we have the ink out and this scrap, we're going to do the ice cream cone top, also in Pool Party, tone on tone again. And we're going to use this on the inside of the card. So we take our punch and we're going to punch out the cone. Just line that right up. And the same thing on the other side. Lining up that "You Melt My Heart" right in the middle so that we can see the whole thing. And the same thing with the U. I'm going to put that toward the bottom as much as possible. Bottom of the cone. And the same thing with the word thank. I'm lining that up right in there toward the bottom and centering it, making sure we get the whole thing in there. And before we layer them, we're going to work on the inside. We've got a little bit more stamping to do. What I did for the inside was take the cone stamp, which provides the color in the cone stamp, and we're going to do that in Cinnamon Cider. We'll just ink that up. And stamp it about over here. And then we want to give detail to that ice cream cone, and conveniently enough, there's a stamp that will do that. It looks almost like a hashtag. That's going to provide some detail. So for that one, I'm going to use soft suede because I want some good contrast. You could use early espresso too. That would be even a little bit darker. And simply just stamping it like that. And we're going to do the same thing for the envelope. Go back to my Cinnamon Cider. So this is on the front left corner of the envelope. Oops, let's go back and try that again. Love my photopolymer. Beautiful. And then one more time, re-ink this and provide our contrast so that white spot's not really going to show. I'm not worried about that because it gets pretty much covered up. And then for this one, we are also going to just stamp the cone rather than punching a piece out because we want to make sure it's going to go through the post office okay. So I'm going to grab my ice cream cone stamp again. And there we have it. Now the front of the envelope is all decorated. We'll put that aside. And our stamping is finished, so now it's just assembly. We're going to take the ice cream cone that we stamped. And again, I'm just using my Stamp and Seal. So we've got a little detail for the inside and then still place to write a sentiment. And on the outside now, to adhere these, I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Dimensionals. And this will help too to anchor our ribbon. So we're going to put it right about here to give room for to grow our ice cream cones, our triple decker. And for this, I'm going to put a dimensional on the top part, but a glue dot on the bottom part because they are going to overlap a little bit. So if I put a glue dot on the other end, like that, right on the bottom end, then that will overlap onto the cone and still give it the dimension on the other end. And we're going to do the same thing with the other two. So a glue dot on one end, like that, and a dimensional on the other end. And then we're going to overlap them so we can still see the whole sentiment. And last but not least, the same thing with the purple Posy. Dimensional on the top and a glue dot on the bottom. And then there's our last layer, and it still fits nicely on the card. And what would a triple decker ice cream cone be without some sprinkles? And the way I did that, bring in the sprinkles again, and my Take Your Pick tool to pick them up. I actually took a few and put them in the top so they'd be easier to get at. And I took my multi-purpose liquid glue and just made some dots. So just some random, relatively small dots. So we don't want too much ink overflowing. And now I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to just pick them up and place them. Whoops, got a little hair in there. And just alternating the colors as best as possible. And the Take Your Pick tool just works wonderfully for this. And there we have it. Our card is now complete. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for joining me today and participating in our Suite of the Month class. I hope you enjoy all the videos, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.